Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Netherlands. And of course, we are here for Tier 2 racing action. And, well, I'm very, very excited for this. Of course, joining me for the Tier 2 racing, our good man from the UK, George. Mr. Unicorn, how are you doing?
Yes, thank you, Chef. I'm doing well. Thank you. I'm looking forward to this one, seeing how round two for tier two goes. Of course, we've seen, a fairly dynamic range of races. We've had our first glimpse at rain, something we didn't see an awful lot of last season, but we've already had, splashes of it here in the Netherlands. We'll see whether we get that tonight. It will be very, very interesting to see who fares well here in Zandvoort under those wet conditions. But a lot on the table tonight, an important race, just round two, plenty of time to score points, and also not a lot of full-time drivers attending, so a lot of points on the board for those who are.
Yeah, there's a good chunk of reserves here in capacity this evening, as there's a scheduling conflict, I suppose, for a number of full-time drivers, but that is okay, as we have the reserves to give ourselves a pretty set grid here. Nearly, I think we have about 19, maybe, I think we have a full grid, might even. But with that said, we're here for round two, of course, in the Netherlands. Next week we have Russia. Following that, Belgium, Italy, Japan. Of course, we go to Silverstone in Britain, Azerbaijan, Hungary. We have Singapore on the menu, as well as France, Spain. We go to Austria, Mexico, and of course, Brazil. It's going to be a very, very good time with all of that coming up. And, well, this is what it's all down to now, as we have populated standings. Dason in charge, 25 points, as Azir has 18 behind him in the AlphaTauri, and things already ramping up in the standings. As you take a look, you have Titan there, Pro to go, Bushiance in fifth, all very capable drivers who are going to be looking to get points once again to further their potential into a driver championship. And we have the Williams, AlphaTauri, and McLaren squad following suit with the drivers, of course, in the Constructors' Championship. And we'll just have to see how things shake up after the second round of their action today. Very, very excited to see. Well, that, as I always say, the roll of the dice. We want to see some rain. I think the chat wants rain. I know I always want rain, but I know the drivers don't. And Netherlands, already having presented us with 4 races this week, has given a lot of, well, preview to what has gone on for some of these racers, as there's been a lot of drivers struggling potentially around the 14-turn Zandvoort circuit. Spins and things like this to boot have been presenting issues, and we'll just have to see how everybody copes with that, as we're just about ready to go racing here in Zandvoort.
Absolutely here for one already in the lobby, and like you say, there has been, just a few drivers who haven't been able to get to grips with it. We've seen it, throughout the week where there are spins coming out. We saw, tier 4 with plenty of spins in qualifying. You and I commented in that one, and that led to a fair few spins in the race. So hopefully, tier 2, a little bit more of a grip on the track. But we'll just wait and see. We'll get everyone readied up, and then, well, only time will tell, Striff.
Only time will tell. 19 drivers in the session right now. Getting on one more potentially here as we get everybody readied up. And, well, it's going to be a serious, serious grind here around the Netherlands. The Tier 2 division not significantly far off of where we've seen the Tier 1 division last week through Bahrain. Everybody here extremely capable, extremely quick. A number of Tier 1 drivers from last season in this grid. Some fan favorites. We've got Yoda here, of course, Dason in the grid. Bushiance is going to be taking part, of course, over at Red Bull. Jake has returned to the grid this season. He was in Red Bull last season, but he's the Haas driver today. And Vincent Nyquist over at Ferrari. A lot of great drivers on this grid today. Dougie Falcons here in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, as well, like we mentioned, there's a few reserves out there as well, and we'll see how they fare. We've seen reserves win this one before. Obviously, Grenade Goran, he had that awesome finish down to the line earlier this week. He won this race as a reserve last season, back in tier 3. So we'll see if they play a role here tonight, as we've got 19 drivers on the grid, as we've already got a disconnection. So hopefully that's not a problem. We do have a spectator host, so we are going to have a little bit of desync here in between qualifying starting for us and qualifying starting for the drivers, but hopefully that resolves itself pretty quickly.
Yeah, knock wood, no issues today on the spectator side as we are hosting on our side. And, well, we don't want to see any issues. We've been playing with driver host versus spectator host. We've been trying to see the differences. There's a couple of differences with each. As far as the lobby's concerned, maybe various bugs, things like this, and have to see what the lobby throws at us today. 18 minutes as far as our clock is concerned, counting down just about that 17-minute mark now. We have 19 drivers on the grid, and George, why don't you take us through who's officially racing today?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, 19, so we are missing one there. We've got Yaxiol up at the top one of the 6 reserves today, I do believe. Wavy in P2, Tal Artex as well, reserving in the Red Bull. Sam, another one of the reserves, this time it's at the McLaren. Kai in 5th place, Titan Ash in 6th at the moment on the timing tab. Bushiance Psycho. Anel Arias there in 9th, and Vincent in 10th there. Then we've got Jake, Azir, Will Gibson reserves for the Aston Martin squad, and Ruin over in the Alpine. And Dougie Falcons at 15th at the moment. Yoda, Jason Ladders, McWin, and Noel there rounding out the 19 drivers that we've got on the grid. The 2 Mercedes are making their way out, but I do believe it's an Alfa Romeo. It looks like it's Kai first out of the pit lane here, down into the banking left-hander of turn 4.
We were coming across in chat, giving us a bit of a weather report there. It is going to be a dry session and a big sigh of relief to all of these racers, I'm sure.
Yeah, you don't want to see, if you're a driver, the wet weather forecast pop up on your HUD, because obviously it just makes it a little bit trickier. The setups as well. Unlikely that all of these drivers have the perfect rain setup, whereas they're more than likely got a pretty decent dry setup for this stage of the game. Obviously still fairly early doors. Nash they're able to rejoin, but we'll see what we've got going here. Kai on the mediums for his first run. He will be the first person to start a flying lap though. Behind him, the reserve of Will Gibson is going to be on the mediums as well. A lot of drivers playing out with the mediums, so we'll see. The Alfa Romeo diving down into turn 1. Careful not to clip that curb to avoid just hooking the car around there through turns 2 into 3. And then setting up for this banked left-hander, just trying to get it there, hitting the late apex on the exit. Now coming up through 5 into 6. This fast-flowing section of track, perfect when you're on your own like this. In qualifying, not so great when you're side by side. In through 8 now, coming out into the right-hander of 9. And again, just keeping it wide here to open everything up for turn 10. The curbs here a lot less usable than at Bahrain. We see there everyone extending to the left and the right-hand side of the track over the white lines to try and get as much speed as possible. Now down one of 2 DRS straights for Kai into turn 12, which quickly switches back into 13. A very, very tricky chicane. One you can get a side dive bomb done, as there's a little bit of a rear-end loss for the Alfa Romeo. Nothing major, but it will hurt his time here as he comes through into turn 15. This massive banked iconic corner here at the end of the Zandvoort lap. And across the line, it's a 109.923 to start us off.
And behind him in the McLaren starting a lap, it's Will Gibson getting a lap through a 10.492 from the reserve driver as Psycho, who has given us an indication that he has a fever today. He's not feeling too good, but he has set provisional pole 109.423 in the Mercedes, and of course hope he feels better. And I think that Noel's trying to make him feel better. 109.540 coming out of the other Mercedes for a provisional front row. And Artex, who is back after his race yesterday, or was it on, I'm trying to remember if it was tier 3 or tier 4 that we saw Artex, of course. 109.105, he's here in reserve capacity for the Red Bulls. Number of times coming across onto the board.
Yeah, there goes Jake into P2 at 109.2. Also worth pointing out Noel's time at 109.5, but that's on the medium strip, as there's one car, it would seem like it's one of the McLarens, which one is an AlphaTauri. Arias has gone to join Sam on the gravel trap.
Yeah, that's not good at all. And we're sorry, it was Artex in tier 3 yesterday. He had an up and down race. Missed out on a podium. He qualified second, however, in the campaign. Took a 5-place grid penalty.
I know a couple of drivers were discussing it when we were talking about the fact that, reserves are at play, and a couple of them were a little bit worried that Artix is here. Had a few of them ruffled. So even though he is, from the division below, seeing what sort of result and points he can produce for Red Bull, so obviously he'll be able to score points for them.
Hey, Nash seemingly on a flyer. McLaren driver taking a win in Bahrain last week. However, I think it was... Did he lose that on a penalty post-race? I think there might have been a collision he was penalized for later on.
I do believe so, yeah.
Verify
It's a P3. I think we finished P3 overall. There's still a podium in the debut, whichever way you look at it.
Well, it's a good drive nonetheless, and it was a very early accident, I think, that cost him. And well, here's a nice lap from him, a 108.965 for provisional pole. Dougie Falcon's the only other driver on track, and I believe it's an in-lap for him. If not, he's just getting some chain runs in on that set of mediums to try and get some practice. No, he's going to fire himself into the pit lane. A few drivers on outlaps right now. We have the Ferrari of Yagswol, and we have, of course, not too far behind him, Mr. Azir, who we're very, very familiar with. Of course, we have also Titan now. He'll be on that in-lap. A couple other drivers on the way out.
Yeah, just gearing up here, a short lap, and it does afford you a little bit extra flexibility with when you do your runs, how many runs you can do, of course, when it is a short lap time just over the 1 minute mark. Like you said, Yags, he's starting on the mediums now in the Ferrari, and it's a big loss of traction out of turn one, and that's instantly a drop lap for the Ferrari. Will not be happy about that one, that's for sure. As Azir starts his flyer, so we do still have flying cars on the track, but it's a huge upset there for the Ferrari. And of course, the reserve tonight.
Yeah, that's stuff that you don't want to see happening. Lots of traffic, of course, for Azir coming through, but he seems to be navigating it all right as he comes through down the hill. And there's a big snap. Oh my, the AlphaTauri is out of this session. What a snap coming out of Azir. And my, oh my. That is a big jolt to the confidence coming through into a race like this.
We haven't seen too many crashes of that magnitude, and the fact that it's happened here in qualifying is a huge surprise to me, and I'm surprised that he's, having such a way to snap the front suspension like that and, break the wheel off the car and see himself out of the session, but he will not be happy with that, to say the very least. He hasn't got a time on the board either, so it will just be last place for him and around a track where you can barely overtake. It is going to be a very, very challenging campaign for him. We have seen safety cars, so he may be able to get his way back under those, but it really is not a good place to be right now for the Spaniard.
Wavy coming through Sector 2. The Williams going to be pushing to try and find some good time. Partnering, of course. Is it Dason? Excuse me, it is Dason. The blues, the shades of blue. George, they're gonna get me, I think, all season.
Yeah, I would love a UI update. They're updating the DRS beep noise. I would love an update to the colors on the timing tower.
Wavy now to the line. It's good for 8th position. A 9.558 Yoda flying through turn 14. The Alpine, a 10.455. Where can he land himself? The former Tier 1 driver. It's good for 3rd position. A 109.178 Yoda, a driver that we did not get to see a lot of last week. He really did not have the debut he wanted. Artec, so 108.931, and he's putting down some great pace here in that Red Bull. But he is not going to be uncontested, surely. Yoda, Vincent's on a flyer right now. The Ferrari just shy of 3/10 off of our provisional pole sitter. We'll see what he can find as he comes through Sector 2.
Yeah, he's someone who we saw last week does struggle with consistency in the race. He is a quick driver, though, and very capable of scoring some serious points week in, week out. He just needs to work on that consistency in races. But no points on the board for him, nor his teammate. Of course, he's not here this week. We've already mentioned Yagzio here as his teammate for the evening. But the Scuderia has not been a good start to their Tier 2 campaign. But right now, Vincent looking strong. We'll see what he can do as he comes through into the pit lane, of course, because he's already done his run. But
Dougie Falcons went 6th for a moment there, and then Angel Arias, he knocked them back. Jake and Dougie Falcons. Jake is not going to be flying. I think he's on an in-lap right now. If not, he's getting set to go for another run. He has not got a... Well, he hasn't used any of that battery. Bushiance, a driver who we have not really seen at all in this session. No time on the board, coming through turn 13 and 14 now. The iconic banking. Where can the 5th position driver land himself? Of course, he is 5th in the championship. It's good for 9th position on what is seemingly his first run of the evening, a 9.346 between Dason and Ruin there.
yeah, first at least valid run you would expect. So very, surprising to leave it this late. We mentioned how Zandvoort allows you to get lap in after lap because of the short time it takes to get around here, but needless to say, only one down and with presumably about 7 minutes to go, given the desync between us and the drivers. See Titan now coming down. It looks like he's dropped the lap potentially. It sounded like he lifted off very early there, and maybe gearing up to go again in the Glen. Definitely not pushing here, half throttle out of turn 13. So going again for the McLaren. Jake's crashed. Coming out into... Where is this? Turn 11. It's coming into turn 11. The Haas has crashed out, and... Well, I don't know if we've seen that too much at all this week. We've seen, where Azir crashed. It's been taking a few cars into the wall there, and we saw, obviously... as well, turn 9 caused a few troubles earlier on, but coming into turn 11, very surprising. Jake, currently situated in 7th place on the timing tower, out of this session, and I believe that he's crashed on his in-lap as well, so very, very bizarre there.
Very unfortunate indeed, Titan. On with him right now. I had to step away for just a quick second. The McLaren, I think he had invalidated or aborted his previous run. He's back on another push, maybe, looking for that pole position. Coming through the split now into Sector 3. Does he find some time? Well, he's found a ton of time, and if I am Artex, I am concerned seeing this.
All right, now, there's not a lot between them, but there is still time for both drivers to go again. Well, Titan's in the gravel strip, and I don't know whether that is going to instill him with confidence for that final run.
Noel invalidated. Vincent is pushing, and he has a huge lap. Well, it looked like it for a moment. It looked like he was up almost a second, but it's not actually the biggest improvement through Sector 1.
It looks like ahead someone's done exactly what Jake's done. It's the Williams. It's Wavy. All right, I think he's going to be best pleased. Vincent has to correct himself as well. Dason and the other Williams. Well, that's a hell of a lap time there on 108.7. I think he was down in about 10th place. So he's really dragged himself into contention here. We know
great
Dason
run.
loves a good tight circuit, the likes of Vietnam in the last game. He loved that track where most others struggled. So here, again, Zandvoort, pretty different in terms of its structure and build up to Hanoi, but in terms of the lack of overtaking opportunities in a lot of the sections, see what Casey could do here.
Very tricky section of circuit. We've seen a number of drivers really struggle through this section. Now to the line, the Ferrari. P4, a 109.051. He jumps Noel by a very tight margin. Well, the entire grid's a tight margin, to be fair.
Yeah, absolutely. And drivers now coming out once more.
Bushiance has just begun.
Simon's perfect.
Everyone wanting to get a look at the Red Bull, currently 5th in the championship. He ran that 109.346. He crossed the line with just about 7 minutes remaining in the session. Now about 2.5 as far as our clock is concerned, and is coming up over the hill and then down through this flowing section. We've already seen a couple of issues down here, as Zier most notably with a very violent crash into the right-hand wall.
Yeah, and we saw it, throughout the week that if you have these crashes in qualifying, it can lead to crashes in the race, and you'd expect that. It looks like there's another problem for someone else. It's Artex.
Yeah, it's his teammate. Bushiant's his teammate Artex there for the evening in a reserve capacity. Here comes Bushiant's.
An end plate missing, so he can't fly again. So he needs to get back into the pits pretty quickly. And with the desync, I think it'll just have enough time as Bushiant's comes out of the final corner. We'll see what he can do. He can come straight back into the pits, is what it is.
He's in, and that's going to be an interesting call there. I wonder if they have time. Of course, there's a little bit of desync.
Oh, Kai's just lost his car coming through into turn 9. And he's just reversing out the way, although I think...
Teammate.
It was Vincent.
Lando coming through now. Lando's milkman. Pushing in that Alfa Romeo. He's looking to improve a 110 flat.
Coming into the tricky 12-13 chicane, getting through there pretty nicely in the Alfa Romeo. Neither one right now anywhere near the points, 16th and 17th. Obviously, Kai here and management were both full-time drivers, so there is opportunity to score here, but it's only good enough for 16th to beat his teammate there.
Solid improvement. Solid improvement. He brings himself right into that 1 second shooting range of pole position right now. Kai just 0.2 out of it.
Sam, well, he drags himself from 18th to 12th. Still no points there, but the reverse strategy potentially there for the McLaren are much closer to the points, and it is just so difficult to make a huge number of positions around it on track. Obviously, well, we'll see if crashes and safety cars change. That strategy around it is key as a result. We saw that, in the past, and we'll see it again. But it all depends on how today's variables pan out. You can't plan for safety cars. But
looking on with Yoda, you see this? Whenever a driver comes down this hill and they touch a foot into the gravel, I skip a beat.
Circuit's really been catching people out this week, and
it has.
It's very, very surprising that it's done it in such a dramatic fashion. We're seeing problems of here, there, and everywhere. It's Titan on 108.6 sets himself up as the fastest time of the evening so far. He's got the checkered flag next to his name, so I wonder whether Dason and Arias have time to get around. I imagine they do if they're both trying this.
Yoda improves, but a very tight margin. Reen, big struggles in the other Alpine right now as the Aston Martin of, I believe that's Dougie Falcons. No, excuse me, it's Will Gibson on an outlap passing him by. These drivers have had an opportunity to set times as they've crossed the line, and that is very interesting to see. Jason.
Yeah.
108, 714. He has begun a run.
Now, Arias just hit Noel, and I don't know who's at fault there. Noel was on an in-lap. I don't know whether that's an AI-controlled car for the Mercedes. I don't think
it should not be. It very well should not be.
So he's come off the outlap. He's pulled over to the left of the opening section, and Arias has just clipped the Mercedes there, coming through sector 1 and spun. So Noel's been giving a 5-place grid penalty as a result of the incident.
This has been very interesting to see this final qualifying session, as there are, I think, some AI cars on circuit.
Oh, Will Gibson's had a problem. He's spun coming through turn 9. His teammate, Dougie Falcons, coming through on an in-lap.
What is Dason able to do here? He's charging for pole. The Williams driver, can he take it from Titan to the line? He does not improve. Good run there, quite tight to his previous run. 0.02 of a second the separation. I think that is going to finish up our qualifying session, unless Will Gibson has somewhere to land himself other than the pit lane, and it is going to be into the pit lane. That has wrapped up now 18 minutes of qualifying here.
Well, now we've got it. Now you've got a nice pace there from Titan. 3/10 clear of Artex in third. Dason, though, looking to threaten there, and those two, they could, run away with it if they get through turn one cleanly and out of the first sector and just start running away like we were mentioning. It is very, very difficult to overtake here, especially without DRS into turn one. But they can get away in the opening laps. They will be very happy. You could see there the grid penalties shift. Not just one, but at least 3 in the top 14. Noel and Arias both got given one, it would seem, for that incident in Sector 1. So they'll go from 4th and 5th all the way down to 9th and 10th, which will promote everyone below them in those positions. And also, we've got a 5-second penalty for Sam in the McLaren, 5th-place penalty. Sam in the McLaren as well. Not quite sure what that one's for, but a lot of demotions there. And that's great news for everyone below those drivers.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Tons of promotions coming through. So grid penalties for unfortunate issues in the qualifying session, of course. The driver is going to be, I imagine, sending some reports through to the stewards post-race. A reminder to all the drivers to keep the cool head as we come into the race now. This is where it all comes down. And, well, dry campaign is upon us. My name's Stryfium here from Canada. Joining me from the UK, well, Unicorn, quite excited for this one. 36 laps, Tier 2 racing. We've seen 4 races already this week around here. However, it's starting to ramp up as we get closer to the end of the week, because we have the Tier 2, and then we have Tier 1 tomorrow, and then we have Champions coming, of course, this Saturday. So a lot of very fast-paced, hard racing is on the horizon here for Zandvoort, the Netherlands. Round 2 this week of Season 5. Next week we'll be going to Russia. And, well, we're about to see the tire strategies here in the backfield as well.
Yeah, and also, you're having the endurance race around here as well, and we'll see how that all plays out. But here we are, formation lap, and there's the newly instated grid with all of those grid penalties put out. Some reason, Noel seems to have only gone down 4 positions.
Well, it might have been. It might have been because of another grid penalty there with him. I don't know.
Yeah, Arias maybe. I guess that's right, because Arias gets demoted 5, Nolan gets demoted 4 as a result. He doesn't lose out to the drive behind, so
yeah, okay.
A little bit of a saving grace there for Noel, but he still won't be happy going from 4th to 8th on the grid. But for Arias, there's a hot rivalry, I guess, brewing this race between the pair of them. They both got a 5-second penalty, as Noel has some sort of connection issue as well. Hopefully that sorts itself out for the race. But we've got Titan Ash on pole ahead of Dason, both very much clear of the rest of the field in qualifying by 3 and 2/10 respectively. Now Artex reserving for Red Bull. Well, we'll be happy with his performance in 3rd. Ruin in the Alpine also reserving tonight, ahead of the Axial, another reserve. So the reserve shift doing very, very well here. 3rd through 5th locked out by them. Dougie Falcons in the Aston Martin starts 6th ahead of Yoda in the Alpine. A full-time driver there for the French squad ahead of Noel Carmen after his grid penalty. Vincent starts 9th, promoted as a result of Arias, who's just smashed one of the braking boards as he gets demoted from 5th to 10th. Jake starts 11th. Psycho starts 12th. Bushiant's 13th. Kai starts 14th for Alfa Romeo. Wavy starts 15th. Paul Gibson reserving for the Aston Martin squad starts 16th. Sam reserving for McLaren starts 17th. Landers Milkman starts 18th in the other Alfa Romeo. And Azir rounds out the grid after crashing out quite substantially in qualifying. Worth noting, Jake also crashed out but had a time on the board already. But amazingly, kept him into 11th, so he'll be pretty happy with that. Reverse strategy available there with the tyres, mediums outside the top 10 for everyone but Sam, who starts on the hards, and everyone inside the top 10 shift starts on the softs.
Well, here we go. 3, 4, 5 red lights around Zandvoort. It's the Dutch Grand Prix for Tier 2 racing. The engines are revving, and the lights have officially gone dark as we are off the line. Ruin with a very good exit on Dason. Wheel-to-wheel through turn 1 already. Ruin very tight on the outside right now of the Williams, looking for that early position on this race start. We've already had some exchanging through in the back, and there's been a collision. It looks like a McLaren and an Alfa Romeo have come together as Yaxwell and Dougie Falcons have exchanged.
Arias Vincent side by side through sector 1, and this we've seen end badly before as they go down into turn 7 and 8, but Vincent loses the position.
Very tight race start, and that's what you like to see in this division, is just hard racing right off the line. Titan off to a good start. Artek's second position, holding off Dason with Ruin in the train. Wavy and Lando's Milkman having a bit of an exchange now as they look to get back to this grid quickly, and we'll check on board for damage. It looks like the Alfa Romeo is all right. How's Sam's front end looking? It looks clean so far.
So far, so good for most of these drivers. No huge position losses. 3 is the most. As here goes Arias coming out of the final corner on Yoda. No DRS, of course, yet, but it's still side by side down to turn 1 for the pair of them. Later on the base of the AlphaTauri, just giving a little bit of a squeeze there to Yoda. And does this open him up for Vincent? No, it doesn't, because Vincent got very, very sideways coming out of the first corner. Had to do a lot of correction there. Keep his Ferrari pointing in the right direction. Artex, he's lost out to Dason at some point for P2. He did get past the Brit in lap 1, but here he's back down into P3.
Very, very intense race start here as we've got a little bit of a timing tower issue. I believe it's a timing tower issue. Or did Angel take Noel as well there? Noel looking back at Arias, and that's quite tight.
It's been a stunning race start for Arias. Obviously, that qualifying incident spurring him on, and he's channeling all of that that he feels about the incident into this race start, and he's already got past the man it cost him to, and well, almost up into the position he qualified in from 10th to 7th on the first 2 laps. Is very, very impressive driving from the AlphaTauri, but he's
looking
have
for it
into turn 1.
That's a very, very optimistic move. A little bit of contact inside for the Mercedes. Angel Arias is going to be fighting very hard to move back into that 7th position, but it's all tight between these two right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and considering they came together in qualifying, I imagine tensions are high between the two right here. And if they can, they're going to fight this one out to the end, and well, that can create some very, very exciting action between them. You've seen there, Noel being very, very aggressive into turn 1, though, and it's all tap between them, but overall keeping it pretty clean in and amongst the corners and getting back into P7. It's going to cost them both time, though. They're still within DRS range of the front 6, but it's costing them time, and well, fighting's cost, Dason and Artex DRS to tighten ahead, and that's given the McLaren just a little bit of breathing room here. Dason using a lot of battery to try and catch up. He's down to 33%. The Red Bull behind him not using anywhere near as much. It's not a brilliant tracker. It wasn't for regaining battery around. It's a little bit more lenient this game from my observations, but
oh, what has happened here? Ruin very deep through turn 3 has really opened the door for Dougie Falcons applying the pressure here. They're wheel to wheel as we come through 4, 5 and into 6. And that is Dougie Falcons into 4th position as a result of that mistake. A very good opportunistic move. Titan's gone round, coming down the hill. That's the race leader who's spun. There's big contact. Arias has got into him. What happened there? There's been massive contact. The AlphaTauri is out of this race. There's a severe collision. A drive-through penalty for Titan Ash. Unreal.
Well, unless it was a dangerous rejoin, which it looked like he was just stuck in the wall, so I don't think it was. I didn't have a brilliant view of it, but I imagine that's just an unfortunate incident there for the pair of them. Obviously, Titan Ash wouldn't have intended to crash there at all, and then Arias just slammed into him, unfortunately, and Well, obviously stewards will have a look at it post-race, and no safety car. The
Azir.
retired car rolled into the
Azir.
double trap.
Oh, Azir. He just had a big issue coming out of the final turn right now.
The AlphaTauris, it's been an awful lap for them. I think that's fair to say. There's a bit of a fight going on for the P4 position. Axial on the rear of Ruin, and Noel not too far behind as well now. And he's been unleashed a little bit. Pressure alleviated given the AlphaTauris assignment on the previous lap.
Vincent pushing Yoda here. Yoda 7th position. 2.2 seconds the gap right now between him and the train further up the grid.
It's waiting now. I think most of this will be battled out on strategy. You can see the two trains starting to form. Problem here is for Yoda and Vincent, they're in the wrong train if you look at it.
Yeah.
In that sort of aspect. They're conducting the medium train when really you want to be with the soft runners up at the front.
You're supposed to be with
Also
the light
worth pointing out-
tires. Look at this now. Yoda.
the removal of Fytron.
Will Gibson and Bushy Ants having a wheel-to-wheel exchange right now. Ooh, Will Gibson very, very loose through turn 3. Bushy Ants on the inside right now. Will Gibson is going to push to try and hold this off. He's got almost no battery in that car, fighting for his absolute life in that Aston Martin right now. This charging bull pushing him on the pace with ease. You can see that light blinking. There goes Will Gibson into the wall.
A big slide. He's not out of it, though, and it looks like he might be damaged for as well. Tires might have taken a hit, but in terms of the car, it looks like it's okay. And he'll be thanking his lucky stars for that one. And well, he's still within, reached a certain point finish here. He's in 14th, and the reverse strategy, obviously about 4 seconds down on the rest of the pack now. But he's with Lando's Milkman here, and 7 possibilities as Yaxiel gets past Ruin down into turn 1. Very simple move there for the Ferrari. Great lot of pace out of the Schooner rear to get the move done before the corner.
Yeah, solid stuff there. Ooh, Will Gibson really tempting fate on the brakes there. I'd say he had about half a half a tenth before he went into Lando there.
Taking very, very different lines through turn 4 as they come up towards 7 and 8. And see, Gibson seems to be a little bit faster here. But again, just with no overtaking opportunities, loses all the time there through 9. He's just trying to line up a move, but this track doing that is a lot easier said than done. You can see there, no exit out of turn 11 means that you don't get the run you need to get the move done before turn 12. You can't send it up the inside, usually into 12, because it's such a tight right-hander that really only one car can fit through there at a time. We've seen it numerous times where 2 cars have come together and at least one ends up facing the wrong way.
Well, that was a big slip up and it was definitely an isolated mistake for the McLaren Titan who had spun. Will Gibson, Lando wheel-to-wheel through turn 1 right now. Lando holding on to 13th position. Will Gibson really pushing him though. Big snap for Will.
They are losing so much time for the cars ahead, Stu.
Yeah.
Their gap was about 3-4 seconds. Maybe it's now 5.4. And they're just losing out. Titan, well, he's all the way down at the back, but he is setting fastest laps of the race.
This race this week has been quite the shuffle for all these grids as we've had safety cars, weather dynamics come to play. It's quite early on in this race. We aren't even at the third way through yet. We'll be there on lap 12. Of course, 36 laps the campaign. If you're just joining us, welcome. Greatly appreciate you hanging with us this evening for Tier 2 MRL racing action. My name's Striffium. Joining me is Mr. Unicorn. Tau Artex. 3/10 in it between him and Dason for this potential race lead. Dougie Falcons holding quite well in the Aston Martin.
Yeah, and these guys have sort of been brought together a little bit for these podium positions. Yaxiel's dropping off the back now, but without Titan, there's no one running away with the lead of things now after he crashed out. Lando's Milkman, Will Gibson going at it again, and this time, yeah, Aston Martin is ahead, but with almost no battery at this stage of the race, there might be opportunities to recharge at the full. Safety cars are, ever present, as it seems as there's a crash behind. It's the AlphaTauri is here again, and he's got no front wing strift, so one of these AlphaTauris is out as Ruin and Noel go side by side into turn 11. Ruin right now holding 5th place, but does Noel find an exit? No, he doesn't. Just has a little snap there to correct, and that compromises his exit, and this is costing them time. The Yaxiel ahead. They don't want to drop out of that 1 second window to just keep reeling themselves in lap after lap. Doesn't really provide too much overtaking opportunity, but you can't let anyone slip away, because if you do, that's when they can get you on the strategy. And that's really what this race is about, just managing everything correctly and just trying to not make the mistakes that put you into the wall and end it prematurely for you.
Vincent, Yoda, tight right now. Kai, Psycho, of course, that big train on the rear with these mediums. Bushy Ants is at the back of that train. 6.6 seconds is the gap now to him and Will Gibson. You mentioned it earlier, Vincent and Yoda, they're leading this medium train instead of being a part of that soft train.
And they seem to be breaking away a little bit, but they're bringing Kai with them, and this could be potentially dangerous for everyone else in the race, because if this reverse strategy works out for the Alfa Romeo, he's going to be pretty alone as Bushy Ants Jake. They're having a little tussle. According to the timing tag, it doesn't seem really that there was any fight there, unless Jake had a massive mistake. He's 1.2 seconds back already, so either a mistake from the Haas, where he crashed in qualifying, so very possible, but either way, Haas 12th, Bushy Ants in 11th. His teammate right now, P2, looking for P1 into the first turn, doesn't find it.
Just a big train here, not too much of a separation right now between the top 3 and 4th. 2 seconds, growing just a touch here, and then you have Reen on the rear of Yags, and what's happened now? Well, Gibson has had an issue staring at the wall just through turn 1 there, and I imagine that came as another wheel-to-wheel exchange with Lando.
Yeah, if you're on the inside there, just hook that curb. It does just bring your car around. Not a lot you can do once you've touched it. So best to try and stray away from it, but that is the risk when turn 1, one of the only overtaken spots on this track, and even then it's not easy to do. So sometimes you have to take that risk. Just hasn't quite worked out for the reserve here tonight, as everyone else still just following one another around. Psycho's joined the party up in this train for the medium runners. Bushy Ants still sticking with him as well.
Dason right now under threat. There's Artex on the inside. A big late lunge. We saw it from Artex in Tier 3 yesterday. And I believe Dason knows what he's up against in the Red Bull. I think he was watching that race. We saw Artex yesterday make some significant dives into turn 1. I believe it was Yasko in the AlphaTauri he was fighting.
Well, Dason's had a big wobble there, it looked like, and might cost him a little bit of time. Hasn't cost him the position, luckily enough for him. But you don't want to have too many more of those mistakes. Luckily for him, he had it in a pretty wide section of track. That kind of mistake happens, somewhere else, then you find yourself quickly finding yourself in a wall, and you see what happens to those who do that here already. The battle for P4 still very much going strong between these 3 drivers. Axiel still holding on right there in the Ferrari. Ruin there in 5th. Noel, I do believe he outqualified the both, as there's a pit stop coming in for a few of the front runners. Dason, Artex, Ruin all finding themselves into the pit lane. We'll see how this goes. Psycho staying out, of course, on those mediums. So Noel staying out not as a result of, teamwork. Same goes for Yaxiel here. Him and Vincent maybe not talking, given that it's a
Uh-oh.
reserve. Sort of, oh, Psycho. Well, I mentioned him a moment ago, and now he's got no front wing drift.
Yeah, that's a big issue for one of the Mercedes drivers here. Oh, no good there. No front wing.
Well, the other drivers will be thanking him because, well, no front wing, like you said, but he just floored it into the wall just to get out of the way. So, risk of retirement there just to get out of the way of the other drivers. For him, hasn't ended his race. I mean, the front wing being missing will hurt him a little bit, and we'll see whether he gets double stacked a little bit with Noel, because Noel will probably have to come in here to, avoid the undercut from the other cars. At least try to mitigate it. So the Mercedes pit crew might not be ready for him.
Well, I wonder, Dougie Falcons, he is angling into the pit lane. He's on the way in here. Yags is on the way in. Noel, he is, of course, going to follow through. And Vincent, I imagine, is going to stay out. Yes, he was going in there. He was going in there. He's under threat. That's Yoda around the outside. The Alpine and the Ferrari. There was a little bit of a shake for Vincent to go into the pit lane. There's a bit of a snap coming out of turn 1 through turn 2. Wheel-to-wheel Yoda there in a fight for the lead of this line right now, of this train. Vincent holding on to it. Kai.
Just about.
He's looking quite tight to this.
On these fresh mediums, they're, going to be reveling in the fact that the front four now fighting, because all of this will just cost time, especially to those on the reverse strategy, as their tires, are getting a bit older. But Yoda and Vincent, this fighting, you cannot cost time on the laps that you need to come in for the pit stop, because this should be their in lap, you would expect. And as such, well, losing time on that is going to hurt you in terms of the pit stops for everyone else around you.
Wavy cutting some grass right now in the Williams. Titan moves ahead of him. Front left damage for the car as well. Kai. All right. Kai will now be in lead of this race. Bushy Ants not close enough to make any moves just yet. Vincent and Yoda, they went long on these softs. Where are they going to pop out? They were in a formation of their own with these medium runners.
Now it just becomes a case of where does everything fall in this. Dougie Falcons, it appears for him, the overcut.
Yeah, that worked very well for him. He's in second provisionally.
Yeah. So very nice done from the Aston Martin squad for that to work out there. And I wonder whether maybe that was a little bit reactionary. Wasn't intending to pit, just stayed out and pushed a little bit harder on that in-lap, knowing that that was going to be his last up on the tyres, and as such, it's worked. Whatever it was, the Aston Martin squad will be happy that he is now, like you say, running provisionally in P2, and they're not far behind the lead. There's obviously a short lap around here, but Asen already catching up to Jake in that DRS zone. He will get pulled further away from Dougie and Artex as a result, and there's a big gap there behind. So Jason right now in a very comfortable position, but we've seen a few mistakes creeping into his drive as there's a problem. It looks like it's the Aston Martin of Will Gibson. It is just trying to get that turnaround. Again, no damage from the crash for him. He hasn't pitted this race, but maybe now is a sign to do so. Those tyres have taken quite the beating, even if the car hasn't.
This is the second race this season that we have seen WG in. And, well, he is very inconsistent is the one thing that we have been able to tell from his performances so far. He's still coming to terms with the car, maybe with the handling model. We've seen a few issues with him in this race, and we're not halfway through yet. Here comes Dayson and Jake in exchange, of course, for Dayson to give himself just a little element of separation between Dougie Falcons.
And you can see that it just being behind Jake for that little bit cost him a pretty substantial amount of time. About half a second as Vincent Lando's Milkman exchange again. Similar place. Vincent, though, appearing to get it done outside of 13. So a little bit later there, but the move working nonetheless. Titan Ash on Will Gibson. Can he find anything down into 12? He's going to look around the outside. It's bold. Maybe the switch back through 13. I imagine that's what Vincent did. Lando's Milkman dropping again, this time to Yoda. Those fresh mediums really destroying the old mediums, and Very, very interesting to see. The reverse strategy right now not working out for those on it. We'll see how the softs play in later.
Titan Ash and Will with an exchange. Titan Ash moving through 14th position for him. He was leading this race by a good margin at one point until an issue in Sector 2 saw him spinning, and Angel Arias there, who is currently retired in the session, I think unfortunately was collected as a result.
Yeah, a lot of pace down there for the McLaren, and we'll see if he can, claw back some points for his team tonight. He is the only full-time driver in that seat. Sam in the other McLaren, well, he's starting on the hard stuff, and it's not worked out for him. It's clear to see. As there's potentially a change for the lead. There is Bushy Answer on the outside of Kai. The Red Bull looking for some grip here. He has found it. Jason watching on and catching up as a result.
Very tight racing there. Bushy Ants is now leading the race in the Red Bull. 17 lap old mediums for him yet to come in. Ruin and Noel Carlman coming out of turn 3. Very tight. Noel Carlman, 8th position. What's happened here? There's Psycho. Another issue for the Mercedes. We saw it not too long ago where he had an issue through turn 2 and 3. Now we've seen it through turn 12.
I'm not mistaken, that's the second time this race. He's lost his entire front wing, and while his teammate gains a position there in a fight that's been going on pretty much since the start of the race between Yags, Noel, and Ruin. So a long time coming for Noel, and just making use of the one lap pressure tires there. Again, another driver as he goes to the inside of Yagzio, who goes very, very wide out of 13. A brilliant move for the Mercedes to take advantage of that mistake. And we'll see whether Yagzio now comes under pressure from Ruin down into turn 1. And if he does, that fight could give Noel a little bit of breathing room. The Alpine is just going to soar by the Ferrari and might even have a look up the inside of the Mercedes. This might cost him time if he goes a bit deep and manages to get it turned in time. Jason got past Kai as well for P2. Now Dougie Falcons and Artex are fighting through out of turn 4 into 5 and now through 6.
This is a very big battle. Uh-oh. There's been another issue with Will Gibson, the other Aston Martin. That's turn 13.
Yeah, very much, just struggling at the back there into the pit lane for him. He's getting off those 17-lap-old mediums. As there's been another problem, it's the Mercedes. It's Psycho again, who is now lapped in this race. Unfortunate, but with 2 front wing changes, it is to be expected.
Artax hunting down Jake. No DRS for the Haas. Look at the charge here. Dougie Falcon surely is going to move through as well. Bushy Anson, Dayson. There's an exchange up front. We move back to Jake now as he watches Dougie Falcons follow Artax as closely as possible through that section of circuit. Wavy has crashed. Front wing completely off the Williams. Not good for him.
Yeah, stuck there as well. Couldn't rejoin the track. He's just getting out now, but again, with no front wing, slower, has to be careful on rejoin, and now he's lapped as well.
What a dynamic race. We're seeing the timing tower play some games once again.
Sort of a waiting game now. Dason's done very well to get through, pushing out to Kai as quickly as he has, because now there is a huge amount of breathing room between him and Artex, who are on the same strategy. It was a much smaller gap moments ago, but now Dason struggling big time. Not struggling, the Red Bull of Artex struggling big time as he's under pressure from Dougie, but Dason's just free now. So just leave this sort of battle alone and just hold it out to the end, exchanging between Marine and Noel.
Oh, they're wheel-to-wheel through turn 1 right now. It's wild action between these two, but what a move from Marine there. Noel not letting him go! On the inside, there's contact.
Looked like lag was at play there. That car did not move in a natural way. Noel sort of tapped him, and then he sort of slid around and then popped back into place. So not quite sure what's going on between the two cars there. Queen's car, at least on my screen, is jumping around a little bit, so I don't know if there's a lag issue between the two. Fingers crossed it's not permanent, but it's a little bit shaky there.
Hey, what a long stint it has been on these mediums for Bushy Ants and Kai, as well as, of course, Jake. They're really pushing these tires along. They're waiting for a potential safety car. There's been a number of spins. And what is the call here? Bushy Ants staying out for 20 laps now, soon to be 21. He's pushing down on Dayson. Is there enough to really make a move? No, he's just going to hold well on the rear of this Williams right now. No Carlman. Ruin, things are tight on the timing tower. We saw them exchange through turn 1 last lap.
And those two have been fighting a little bit. Yaxiel on the back of this after that problem earlier as well. So those three still fighting out for a sort of mid-points finish now. But at the end of things, well, if there's a problem further up, it could be a potential podium for them because Bushy Ants and Kai still yet to pit here. So they play their cards right. A third position could be on the cards, but it all depends on Artex and Dougie Falcons and their fight. And if Dayson stays in lead of things as well as a yellow flag popping up in sector 2 and 3. I don't know what that's for. Doesn't look like anyone's off, but not see anything that's any immediate threat to the track. It just seems that yellow flags are popping up. Sure.
Yeah, yellow flags popping up right now. The timing tower hopefully going to soon return to its former state as Wavy took a corner cut, gained a what?
He's out of the race. There is definitely some glitch going on. The potential ghost of Wavy causing havoc here on the timing tower.
I think it's going to update now. It's looking like it's getting itself back to normal.
Fingers crossed that's settled that, but meanwhile, Yaxiel has caught Noel, and they have dropped off the rear of Ruin a fair bit. Noel's trying to push with the ERS he's got. He does have the advantage at the moment, but that little push there has reduced it to below what Ruin's got left in the tank.
Bushy Ants is in, Kai stays out. Undercut between the pair of them now in effect for the Red Bull. Where does Bushy Ants land? This is going to be a massive question. Timing tower now updating as the intervals come through on screen. You can see dropping now to 8th, soon to be 9th position. Vincent there and Yoda in the backdrop. He is going to come out just behind Jake. No, Jake is actually behind him. So Bushy Ants 1.3 fresh softs to the end of this race in a very good position. Just in front of Bushy Ants. What's happened here? There's a yellow for Will Gibson as he retired in the pit lane.
Yeah, I think that hurt Yoda as well, and he won't be best pleased about that because I do think it might have cost him DRS to Vincent ahead of the Alpine driver. So, you know, unfortunate to see that, especially at a track like this where Sector 1 is so difficult to overtake at. But putting an AI-controlled car there, trundling slowly around on the retirement is just far from ideal. All doing well to catch up a little bit to Ruin, who finds himself into the pit lane. This is a bold call from the Alpine. Coming in for another set of mediums. I can't see what's going on there.
It won't give me anything either. I don't know if there was a wing change or not.
I'll have a little look.
No, I don't think there was.
It doesn't look like it.
Cook, I think.
Yeah, no front wing change, just mediums to mediums. Very, very bizarre. So he doesn't see the potential for the mediums to go to the end. They should go to the end. You think back to the humongous hit we saw disaster do in Tier 4 on Monday.
Yeah, that was a huge, huge stretch.
I mean, and obviously safety cars played a role in that race, so the 28 laps were, I think it was 28 laps, were a little bit eased here, but these drivers will only have to do 22, and we've already got Kai on 24. So very, very possible here as Ruin on these fresh mediums is just going to blast past Lando here coming out of turn 11 into turn 12. Maybe a little hot into there, but the fresh tyres will have enough traction. Will Gibson, after retiring, leads the session. Sam's in the gravel. The McLaren reserve not doing well. Still on his fresh starting hard tyres. 24 laps old, and they definitely haven't worked out for him.
Bushiant's on the rear of Yoda and Vincent right now on the 9-lap-old mediums, not finding as much ease through them as I'm sure he'd like right now. He's got the traction, but Yoda placing that car beautifully on the rear of Vincent while he tries to hunt down the Ferrari is not helping Bushiant's situation, and there's a slight tap.
Again, just to keep the racing clean around here is impressive for the drivers, because it is so hard to race people here. As there's a problem, it looks like it's the other Alpine based on the track map, and it is Ruin. And well, I don't know if there's been some sort of problem for the Alpine, whether it's on a game level or hardware base. We saw him come in for a pit stop, and now he's spun after what was a pretty strong start to the race. It's all crumbling down here in the last 10 laps.
Dougie Falcon's on the
He's
inside
down
of
as well.
Kai. Nothing just yet, but of course a big tire differential between these drivers. Bushiant's nothing doing just yet as he's watching on with Yoda and Vincent. Yoda and Vincent wheel to wheel through turn 1. Yoda on the outside, drops back on the rear of the Ferrari.
And pretty much identical battery between Vincent and Yoda, but Bushiant's has got way more in that tank, still 50%, and he's got these softs as Ruin
in the
also
pit lane.
in the pit lane.
Did he have damage?
I don't know what's happened there for Ruin. It's a very bizarre turn of events, from pitting to
Unfortunate,
going
big
out,
time.
spinning, and now retiring in the pit lane. There goes Sam in for his stop. He's going softs to the end from here, off of the hards.
Bushiant's, Yoda, tight into turn 12 here. Bushiant's looks to the outside as another slight tap there from the Red Bull, finding his braking on the rear of the older mediums. Kai into the pit lane. Where are all of these other drivers? He went so long on those tires. He's going to have a bit of an edge compared to Bushiant's at the end, but I think it was a little too long now. Bushiant's, oh, is this ever tight? Nearly 3 wide into turn 1. Bushiant's looking for Yoda. Yoda was looking for Vincent. Bushiant's catches the car. Jake gets through into 8th position. And I don't know if that was the right timing opportunity there for Bushiant's or for Yoda. I don't know, but that was a very, very tight position to find yourself in. Yoda was looking for Vincent at the same time. A 3-way fight for, of course, 6th position. Bushiant's will be thrilled to get it saved. He's got a little bit of a tire advantage. He can maybe catch up with Jake if the tires are cool enough. But now this is very unfortunate when you think about it, because you've got Kai 1.6, 1.5 closing in on these softs. Freshest softs on the grid other than Hamilton there.
On all of this, not too long left now in the race. Lap 29, Dason's just crossed into. He's still got a 3.6 second lead as Noel is going to have a nice run at Yaxiel down into turn 1. Ooh. And Yaxiel looked like that. Surely he has to have lifted off or braked there.
That was interesting.
That was a huge loss of speed.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. Here comes Bushiant through turn 1 now on the outside, inside now for Jake.
Oh, there's Milkman. 3-second time penalty there for the Alfa Romeo, and it's Zir behind him. No front wing for the Alfa Tauri. That's going to allow the McLaren of Sam by easily. Again, we're just seeing the chat catch a few people out still in these late stages. And as I mentioned it, Kai is spins out of 10th place.
Oh my god, finally in this race we have a safety car. Let's take a look at that Alfa Romeo. There's no front wing on that car. This is massive. This is absolutely massive. This is 29 of 36, and the safety car has been brought out. Dason, Artex, Dougie Falcons has decided to stay out here. Is this a mistake?
Well, it's a tricky track to overtake at. It's not that tricky when you've got the advantage of fresh shots versus 15-lap-old mediums. It's going to be fresh shots to pretty much everyone. And in fact, I think it is going to be everyone. Even Jake staying out here, just getting a few positions as a safety car. 8 laps on those softs. Yoda stayed out in 3rd. Jason P2. Well, Yoda being behind him there, well, that might help him out a little bit. He should be able to overtake Dougie Falcons with the tyre advantage. Now, the thing is, when do we go green? The grid right now is fairly spaced out, so it's going to probably be lap 32 at the earliest, if not lap 33. It's a short lap, so it shouldn't take too long for everyone to catch up. Lando's Milkman there has been double stacked. We also have a few lapped cars. Azir might try and overtake the safety car here. It looks like he's sort of toying with the idea right now, but as far as I'm aware, it does not work. These medium runners are at the front, so I think you're right. I think this just wasn't the call. I have a feeling that the only advantage they have is that there's a bit of a buffer there in the soft runners that Jake and Bushians should be able to fight the people behind them, but at the same time cause a little bit of a pace variation in this grid because they're on the older softs. And the likes of Noel and Yagziel, when they try and get through here, they're going to struggle because Jake and Bushians tyres should fight against the fresh rubber, but they won't be as competitive. So a little bit of a break in the chain there, potentially to protect the likes of Yoda and Dougie Falcons, but Dason and Artex, you would think, should be on for a podium provided they don't have an incident in the last 5 laps of this race.
Well, if Dason gets in front of Dougie Falcons, and that's kind of what I'm expecting to happen, Yoda and Dougie can essentially form themselves a little bit of a rolling roadblock, a little bit of a fight and duel on their like tires. That could also present a unique situation for Artex to navigate through. You've got Jake and Bushians there. You mentioned they could quite well end up fighting.
Well, any level of fighting here helps the people ahead, and also to an extent the people behind, but to catch up, it's just a case of how quickly, you saw earlier how quickly Dason was able to get through on the traffic, and that really helped him build out a 3.5-second lead in front of things. That's now been slashed down by the safety car. He'll be annoyed about that. What it does give him here is another opportunity. He just needs to make sure he dispatches Dougie faster than Artex dispatches of Yoda there.
Surely the safety car is going to be coming in here. And there it is, race control with the confirmation now. Safety car will be coming in this lap. Dougie's in charge of the grid. The lights are off on that red safety car, and it's going to be all up to Dougie in that Aston Martin to pace things, as it's Dason and Yoda right on the rear end of him. Artex, Jake, Bushiants, Noel, Yagswol, Vincent, and Titan rounding out the 10 drivers. They're in the points right now. Kai, Lando, Sam, Azir, Psycho, 15 drivers remaining out of 19 that began. When does Dougie hit the throttle? It's tight on the exit. You can see him just feathering it, getting some temperature into these tires. He's going to bring things straight to the line, and he's gone. Here we go. How's he caught things for Dason?
It's caused chaos behind Striv.
No!
Artex has come together with the Haas and the Alpine, and the other Red Bull's been collected.
No
Massive
way! What on earth have we just witnessed? That is such a chaotic crash. I have never seen that in the Misfits Racing League yet, and I have seen every race in the Misfits Racing League. What in the world just caused that?
Well, I had a little bit of insight there. It looked like Artex just had a way better launch. Everyone was backed up because of the restart we saw. And then, well, 4 or 5 wide down the start-finish straight, people turning in on each other, and then it all just sort of divulged into chaos as 2 cars came into one another. As Noel dropped back to Kai there for P4. And I wonder whether this is damage related. It looks like his Mercedes is okay. But my, oh my, stewards will be having a nightmare trying to work out what happened there.
I really do
Points
feel
now
for
on
some
the
of these
table.
racers. I really do. That was a massive crash. What's happened here now?
That was sincere yellow flag. Dougie Falcons has held on to lead of things as a result. I would expect Dason to get past, but at the same time, is that 2-second buffer enough to keep Yaxiol at bay? Psycho calls it in the pit lane for the end here. Big shame to see that. But Azir here, an opportunity to unlap himself from all those other drivers, and one more crash, and he's in the points. As
Very
Dason
intense
gets
here.
very close to Dougie. As Lando and Noel are exchanging. Noel looking for it on the inside of 11. A good exit here. We'll see him go through into 12. Doesn't happen, though. For him, there is a penalty ahead. The two McLarens are exchanging the reserve. Getting ahead of Tyson there on the older tyres as well. Very, very peculiar. We're going to go on to lap 34. Dason, here he goes. This is his run. This is his opportunity. He feels he is pushing all the way through the final corner, and he is going to find the extra pace. Yaxiol, fastest lap of the race, though. He is trying to catch these two
What a hold
very,
here.
very quickly.
What
Jason's
a hold.
still on the outside. Has he got the move done, though?
No.
They're still going as they go through 3 into 4. Dougie has to back out quite aggressively, and that brings Yaxiol right back into the thick of things, and he is on for another shot at P2 here. We said that fight between Yaxiol, Noel, and what was Ruin, who was in this race earlier on, was going to potentially end up in a podium. Yaxiol might get P2 here if he can find his way through on Dougie Falcons for the last 2.5 laps. Dougie did very well to defend from Dason in the way that he did.
Well, we're on lap 34 out of 36, and this race has presented us with the dramatic event of the week, I would say. And that turn 1 restart, something very, very...
Make it to turn 1.
Yeah, that was very, very unfortunate to see that. And there's a lot of racers out of it as a result. And surely the reports are going to be coming through as we have Yagswell. Now it's for second position, the Ferrari through. We saw Dougie hold with everything he had against Dason. He's just losing, I think, that fighting ability. And if I'm Dougie right now, I stop the fighting and I hold on to this lead I have over Kai. He's in a podium position. And he's got this lap and the next lap, and he's there.
Yeah, he could do it if he could just stick to Yaxiol here, DRS down into turn 12 and just keep with him into turn 1. That's the best overtaking spot Kai's going to have. And if he doesn't have that opportunity, well, it's pretty much not going to happen for him. DRS is low for all of them. So very, very likely there that Dougie is able to hold on, but it could be close down to the line. We saw it earlier this week. Sam on Noel. Apparently Noel is, he's got a few problems with that car after the incident. No visible damage, but, you can still get it. That isn't truly visible. Here goes Sam on the inside into 12. Nothing Noel can do about this apart from just stick with him as long as he can. But the traction should go to Sam on the outside, it would seem. And it does. Noel there drops back into 7th place. Swift, I want to draw attention. The Alfa Romeos, the 2 slowest drivers in qualifying, if I'm not mistaken. Pretty much, 17th and 18th, I think, because of the crash to the Alfa Tauri.
Oh, whoa.
4th and 5th of them now.
Watching this fight right now between 6th and 7th, and I saw a very large move there under braking from the McLaren. That was scary. That was a little scary. Dougie Falcons right now, he's dropped off of Yags, but of course Kai has not really picked up that gap to Dougie, and Dason right now looking like he's going to be in it for a win.
Noel's still on for P5 as well. Lando's Milkman has 8 seconds of penalty strip. It's going to be close. The gap right now, probably about 7 seconds. So he needs to be careful here. That movement with Sam, like you mentioned there, might have helped him out too much. I think that yellow flag might be another hoax.
Well, here it is.
Quite
Dason
sure
now
though.
is getting that celebratory weave on to the line. The Ferrari right behind him, and it is going to be Dougie Falcons collecting third position here behind Yagswol for the podium. Tier 2. Netherlands, and man oh man, what a dramatic event it's been. Kai collects fourth with Noel going fifth ahead of Sam on the penalties. Lando seventh, he gets dropped back as Vincent comes through, and Titan ninth. Yoda will be coming through the final section of circuit to take the final point.
Yeah, that is unbelievable, and a shout out to us here as well. After all of the problems he's had in this race, he's still finished it out here, 11th place. It was looking like he wouldn't get anywhere near the points. Only 1 point short, 1 place short. I think unless he's just got promoted there on penalties, I don't think so. But, you know, still, shout out to him for just not retiring in the pit. Sam receives driver of the day, the reserve for the McLaren squad. And, well, it's a reserve on the podium as well for Ferrari, but it's this man here, Dason, who takes P1 in the Netherlands. And I'm sure he is thrilled with that. It's a triple British podium drift. Dason, Yaxiel, and Dougie Falcons all having the Union flag fly high above them as they celebrate there with the champagne. And hopefully we get interviews with as many of the drivers as possible. Fastest lap as well going to Yaxiel in the Ferrari. So a great drive from the reserve. Get 19 points to add to his total. But again, I mentioned it there in the closing laps, but the Alfa Romeo squad shift, you know, obviously Landers Milton relegated because of penalties, but 14th and 18th to get a double points finish. And Sam as well, 17th to 6th. All great drives. Noel, huge positions there. And again, we see strategy and just getting to the end of the race paying out in terms of positions gained around a track that is so hard to overtake around.
Yeah, it really is. It really is not the most ideal overtaking circuit, and it definitely presented a lot of these racers with some dynamic situations, and that's not even touching the surface of what I imagine the stewards are going to have to deal with reviewing this race, especially after that safety car restart. That was just a scene to see, and of course there's going to be some clips and review of that in the YouTube channel, !YouTube, but we are going to have some... Well, we're going to have ourselves some interviews here in just a few moments, and then a raid, of course. And that was an all UK podium. 3 Union Jacks there represented on the top 3 slots. So let's take a look at who we can get for some interviews. Oh, what a race it was. Alrighty, first up for an interview, and it might even potentially be our only interview of the evening, but we have a very fast driver. He doesn't think he's fast, but kind of a running thing. He always says he's slow. Everyone says he's fast, and I have to say, after today, looking pretty good there, Dougie. A P3 in the Aston Martin around a track that I think everybody was struggling with today, except maybe yourself. How you feeling?
Weird. It was a very weird race. I'm surprised we had good pace, but the problem was that we had to manage fuel a lot. But yeah, it was quite boring actually, because I tried to do for an overcut and it didn't pay off. Well, it did pay off for P2, but it didn't pay off because Dason had a very strong pace, and congratulations to him on the win. But yeah, it was something or other.
Yeah, definitely a unique race to say the least. We saw a lot of yellow flags. We had the safety car that came out quite late, and then we had the entire commotion that followed that. Did you happen to get a view of anything that occurred under safety car? Because behind you, well, I imagine you'll get an opportunity to see it later, but I just want to take your attention to that Spa crash many years ago, and that was basically the scene that we saw in Netherlands turn 1 behind you, if you didn't. But there was a major crash. I was just curious, did you happen to see anything on your side?
No, I was trying to just get away, because obviously the start finish line you're allowed to overtake, so I tried to judge it as best I can so I can get probably the best, so I wouldn't get the slipstream. But I didn't see anything what happened behind me. All I knew that Yoda was third, and then not third anymore, and then that was all I knew. So yeah, I just tried to do my best to get a good launch for myself and everybody around me. I guess we're in an instance I would love to see it, but it probably was Magello-esque, I would imagine. But
Oh yeah.
but, yeah, in my point of view, I was trying to hold on for maybe a win, maybe a podium,
Yeah.
to see if the mediums would hold on. But gamble didn't pay off. But I was gonna get a podium anyway, so I was happy with it.
It was a great drive from you today. Now next week, round 3, Russia. What are your expectations for the round coming ahead?
Well, we finally got our very first podium in the morale. So I don't know what to expect.
P2?
Maybe we'll,
You climb up another slot?
yeah, another slot, maybe P2, maybe P1, who knows? Yeah, so I'm glad that we got MRL Duck out the way, because it was kind of like after what happened last season, and then started coming into this season, I didn't know what to expect. Maybe a podium again would be nice. But I'm not really looking to fight anything. I'm just here to enjoy it. So we'll see.
Well, thank you for taking the time, Dougie. Unicorn, any questions for Dougie before we move on to Yagswol?
Well, I think we've just about covered everything. But Dougie, congratulations. Like you said, the gamble didn't quite pay off, but still able to finish here on the podium, finish strong, and avoiding the incidents and stuff. It's credit to you for avoiding that, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So congratulations and good luck for Russia.
Thank you.
There we go. And that was Dougie Falcons, everyone. Now we're going to go and speak to Mr. Yagswol, and I don't know if I've ever pronounced this correctly. I have a feeling we might learn right now. But of course, second place finish for you in the Netherlands. Congratulations. It was a very up and down dynamic race, to say the least. So how was it for you?
Well, I believe I pitted around lap 13. I went for or maybe it was 14. I went for like a 1-lap overcut. Didn't really pay off. And then maybe quite a few laps after that, I had a problem with my pedals. They weren't really properly locked on the ground, but I fixed that. And then, I also had a problem with my fuel, so I was pretty happy when the safety car came out.
Oh, so you were running a bit of a different fuel strategy, lower fuel maybe at the start of the race, safety car giving you a nice opportunity to conserve. You're actually the second driver on the podium this week to mention how the safety car came in clutch for fuel saving. I think we heard Wisp say that yesterday as well.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't really about the strategy with underfueling. I had no clue how much fuel I needed to put in. I think I put in like +1 lap in or something like that. I don't know. But yeah.
Very good
Yeah.
drive from you. It was a very consistent drive in the end that took these podiums, of course, and I'm going to give it to Unicorn. Do you have any questions for our P2 finisher this evening?
Well, yeah, obviously a great result from you, reserving for the Ferrari squad, who before tonight hadn't got any points. Obviously, not a full-time driver, but now that you've got a podium, for future reserve drives, of course, does this just give you, confidence, for when you come back into this sort of environment that you can, perform and take away a few points from those who usually would be, finishing on the podium when you are evidently very, very competitive in this grid?
I mean, yeah. I mean, at the end of the race, I was completely shaking. I mean, I was so nervous for this race. But now, yeah, I came P2. I've definitely, I think I build up a lot more confidence for future races.
Well, congratulations. Huge result here for you, obviously. Again, just going to your personal tally, no team to score for, but I'm sure there's plenty of drivers who are disappointed on missing out on those points. So congratulations for taking them. Congratulations on the podium. And, well, we'll see you at some point in the future, I should imagine, in another race when we see you back in the reserve seat.
Yeah, hopefully.
Congratulations. Have a great, great night. Next time.
See ya.
All right, that was Yagswol, the P2 finisher, and we aren't going to get comment from Dason. I think we saw that one come in there, Unicorn. He
did it before.
He does not want to speak. He is our humble winner this evening. Of course, the Williams driver going to be thrilled about that, and that is going to extend his lead to 50 points. I think, as I don't believe he had fastest lap, but
No, that was
another
Diego,
race
yeah,
win.
we just-
Yeah. So, what a race it was. Tomorrow we are going to be back, Unicorn and I. Well, it's the Tier 1 division. Very, very intense race coming for that. And then Champions once again on Saturday. Also this Saturday, if you didn't know, not only do we have the Champions division, but we have our Endurance series. So we're going to be going back-to-back major races. Champions division is going to flow right into the next race, which will be the Endurance series. And we're going to be going to Spa-Francorchamps, of course, the Belgian Grand Prix, for a 100% distance endeavor with damage, strict corner cutting, and all the bells and whistles of the MRL, just at an extended capacity. It's going to be a very, very good time. Unicorn, any closing remarks before we head off for the evening?
Well, to add to that excitement building on Saturday, I think it might also be forecast to rain at the weekend over in Spa-Strift. So potentially we see a wet weather race over there on Saturday. Fingers crossed. I think that will make things very, very interesting. But of course, we've got Tier 1 tomorrow, like you said before then. So a lot to look forward to. Another very, very dramatic race here tonight. And, well, the Netherlands, the track that's so difficult to overtake, has been providing quite the positional changes as a result of these incidents that people keep getting in. Well, that one, I think we can agree, has definitely been the most explosive of them all. But thank you all so much for watching. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place for Tier 1. But until then, have a nice night, and we'll see you next time.